My plan is at 9 o'clock, I'm going to go to all the grade 9 classrooms.
All right, good morning, grade 9. Good morning, good morning. I'm just doing, we'll do a quick sound check here. If at any point, if you are having technical trouble, you can't hear me, you don't have enough forms, just not sure where else to turn, please send a quick text to Mrs. Arnott or just call the office and we'll be sure to have someone pop by and give you the support that you need. So I will just go through a few basic things. First of all, I'm hoping that you can all hear me. I obviously can't see many of you, if any of you. Can I just get a, Mr. Fedosky, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Fantastic. Okay, perfect. So I also want to just start with a couple of basic overview items here. First of all, this entire session is being recorded and we will put this on our YouTube channel a little bit later this morning. And we also have a couple of other videos on our YouTube channel for registration that may be helpful for you. You will get a chance to see them this morning in this session. Your teachers will show them to you. So, but if you want to watch them again or have questions, they're available for you on our website. And I will show you where to get all that detail. Secondly, this is the first time we've ever done a course registration through Zoom. Normally we'd be together in one big group and it's a lot easier for us to be able to ask questions and talk about some of the interests and items you might have from the registration session. So this will be different because we don't have that ability. So I'm just asking that the teachers please help by, if there are questions directed to me at what we're stating, if you would please just type it into the chat window. And that's an easy way for us to be able to answer those questions, or just maintain a list. And I'm happy to come back tomorrow morning and I can meet with your class in person and do some troubleshooting from there as well. Okay. Okay. The other thing is that today, when you leave this presentation today, you will have a big package of information, and that is literally a big package. And I'll talk about these pieces, but this is important as it really needs to go home. This stuff is intended for your families. It is for them to be able to refer and understand how high school works, about how credits work, and about how courses are selected in high school. So it's really important details to be sure that they get home and that you show your families. We'll send them an email reminder about that today as well. Okay, so here we go. The purpose of what we're doing today is to begin to plan for grade 10. And that's a big deal because in grade 10, you will start on the credit system in Saskatchewan. And so there's some special classes that you must take in high school in order to be able to graduate in the province. It doesn't matter if you're at Peacock or Central or Wolseley or Walter Murray in Saskatoon. We all pretty much have the same curricula, and every student in the province has to do certain classes to be able to finish high school. The good news is that you have 3 years to get all those classes done. And if we follow the plan that's laid out for us, it's really straightforward and you won't have to make a lot of hard decisions about what classes you take. This presentation this morning will take about 30 minutes to 40 minutes for us to walk through all of this information. And by the end of it, though, you'll have a really good sense of what classes you need to pick for grade 10. And you'll know how to get those classes selected and to let us know so we can plan for you for next year. Like I said, we're also going to put all of this information on our YouTube channel, including this Zoom session. So if you have any questions or you want to hear it again, you can go back and you can watch it there. Okay, so teachers, I will need some help throughout the session today. As I go through some steps, I will pause for a few moments to give you time to help the kids with some of the parts that we'll do, including checking items up on a selection sheet, as well as accessing some of the videos we have on our YouTube channel. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about these packages. You may not have these in your hand. That's okay. Some of your teachers may have them on hold for you until the end of the session, which is completely fine. There's two main things that you'll have here. So the first thing we see is we have the course selection sheet. And so this sheet is a fold over sheet, and it actually is used for all grades. So you'll notice on the front cover, it asks for your name. It asks for your current grade. And for grade 10, on the inside, this is a list of all of the grade 10 classes, the core classes and the electives. So you may be wondering, okay, what's this word core class? I haven't heard that before. So in grade 10, when we start the credit system, there are certain classes that you must take. So just like in grade 9, right now you might be sitting in an English, a science, a social, or a math class. Those are classes that are core classes that you must take in grade 9. In grade 10, we have a few of those as well. In fact, you'll have likely 6 or 7 core classes that you must take. And that's what we identify on the sheet that you'll have here, is those core classes. And then, of course, there's things that you can choose to take, which are referred to as electives. In Saskatchewan, to graduate high school, you have to have some very specific classes in order to graduate, which we'll talk to you about here in a couple of minutes. So that's the first thing that we have is that course selection sheet. Don't lose this. If you do lose it, you can get another copy in the office, but we really want you to keep track of that. So we're going to come back to this in a few minutes. The other thing you have in your hand are a bunch of resources. And I think there's 4 or 5 things in this package. And again, these are for your parents. They're also good for you to use as well. There's one about choosing classes in high school. There's one about tracking credits. That's more of an issue when you're in grade 11 and 12, so don't worry too much about that one right now. There's one about high school, Saskatchewan, what you need to do. That's more of a parent thing. And this one is more for grade 11s and 12s, but I know some of you will be interested already. This talks about what classes you need in high school to go into certain programs in different universities and in different colleges. So there's information there. You may find that interesting. But at the grade 10 level, we're not thinking so much about graduating and about university. We're just starting to plan for that. So this is not super useful, but is something that may be interesting for some of you as you're planning. Okay? So those are the main resources that we have. So I'm going to change my screen right now. I'm going to shift over to a PowerPoint that we're going to use that's going to guide us through some of the next things that we're talking about. So I'm going to put you on pause for a second. In fact, you know what? Let's take 3 minutes right now. I think it would be helpful. Teachers, if you haven't already, you could hand out the packages. But students, what I'm really looking forward to is having you have the course selection sheet handy with a pencil, preferably, or a pen. So we'll take 3 minutes for you to be able to get this all set up. If you're short sheets or need any help, please let me know. So we'll just go on hold for a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So, Mr. Fedosky, would you mind giving me the thumbs up? I just want someone to confirm you can see my PowerPoint screen. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the change that you're going to adapt to in grade 10, where we start on the credit system. So item number 1 is, remember we mentioned there's core classes like you're taking now with English, Math, Social, and Science. So we have the same reality in grade 10, and the core classes are all listed there on the screen right now. So you'll have an English A in one semester, you'll have an English B in another. You'll have grade 10 Science, grade 10 Wellness, which is kind of like gym and health together. You'll have 2 math classes that you'll take. You'll have Math 10 Work and Apprenticeship, and you'll also have Math 10 Foundations and Pre-Calculus. And I'll talk about more of those in a moment. You also will take a Social 10 or a Native Studies 10, and you have to take 3 elective classes. We have a lot of elective classes, and we'll come back and talk about those in a moment. So that's what we call our core classes. So what I'd like to do right now is, before we go any further, we're going to pause for 1 minute, and I want you on the front cover of your course selection form to clearly put your first and last name and your grade, which would be grade 9. So let's take a minute, print your name, really neat for us, first and last name and your grade. 1 minute, and we'll come back. Okay, once you have that done, make sure that you have the book open to the inside cover where it says grade 10 courses. Now, at the beginning of grade 10, as you start to take these classes, now each class that you take is 1 credit in Saskatchewan. And in Saskatchewan, you need 24 credits to graduate. However, you can't just take any 24 credits to graduate. You have to take a very specific number and type of credit. So you have to take certain Englishes and science and math and electives or fine arts in order to graduate in the province. It's really important that you select the right credits each year. And there's a lot of help to make sure that you do that between your classroom teachers, the guidance counselor, parents, and administration, and of course yourself. That is the process we use to make sure that we get all of the right credits finished off to graduate in high school. Credits start for you next year in grade 10. Before we do some selections this morning, let's talk about the math and the science, because these are different than anything you've seen up to grade 9. So this right here is called the math pathways. So in grade 10, there are 2 math classes. There's Math Work and Apprenticeship 10. There's also another math class called Foundations and Pre-Calculus. In the province, we expect grade 10s to take both of these math classes, the workplace and the foundations. So next year, most of you will take both of these credit streams. Later in high school, in grade 11, you'll see that there's not just 2 maths, there's actually 3, because foundations and pre-calc breaks off into some different areas. So they break off into foundations and pre-calculus. So for students who might be wishing to take calculus, perhaps they're needing that for a university entrance in grade 12, they'll have to make sure that they take the pre-calculus classes in order to take calculus. You notice that there's a line between them. It means in order to take the next one, you must have the class before it. So if I want to take Math 30 Workplace in grade 12, I have to have the 20 and the 10. I can't jump between the pathways. This is a pathway and these are pathways. So some students would take multiple pathways. Maybe they are passionate about math or enjoy it. But in grade 10, we make it very easy. We focus in taking both of these math classes. In some rare circumstances, students may only take one of these. That would be something that will be a discussion between your teacher and your parent. But for now, I want you to plan to both be taking the 2 math classes next year. Okay? There's another area in high school that follows pathways, and I'm sorry this diagram's a little bit more busy, and it has to do with science. The good news is that in grade 10, it's really easy. In grade 10, we only have to worry about taking Science 10. However, after we're done Science 10, you can see, look at all of the courses that you can choose from following Science 10. Health science, which studies the body, and ecosystem type topics, environmental science, which deals with environmental topics, physical science, which is things like physics and motion and chemistry. Those are all classes that come from there. And computer science, which is computer programming. So after you've done Science 10 next year, you'll be able to jump and to take some other sciences and grade 11 level. In Saskatchewan, you have to take a science at the 20 level to graduate high school. And for those of you that look through this with university plans, you'll notice you'll often need some of these grade 11 and 12 sciences to graduate and to get into university. So for example, if a student wants to be a nurse, they are likely going to need the Bio 30 or Chemistry 30 in order to get into university. So there's a reason that we have to take specific classes. Again, at the grade 10 level, our focus is on Science 10 and beginning to think then into grade 11 and 12 about the other sciences we'll take. Okay, so that deals with our math pathway and our science pathway. So for 99% of grade 10s, it's going to be easy. When we go back to our core classes, we're going to take the 2 Englishes, the science, the wellness, the 2 math, a social or native studies. Those will all be automatic classes that you'll select on this form. So what I'd suggest we do right now is we're going to pause for 2 minutes, and I'm going to have you circle on the sheet as it states here, the classes that you would take. So we're going to take English, a social or native studies, a science, wellness, and the math. So you can circle those credits that you know you'll need to take. If you don't get it completely finished, that's okay. We have a few days to turn this in, but we'll pause for 2 minutes to allow you some time to circle those core credits. Welcome back, everybody. That was a couple of minutes. Hopefully you're able to check off or circle the main core electives. So school is not all about taking core classes and intensity. Uh, High school should also have some fun, and it also should allow you to follow some of your passions. And you know, you're fortunate in many ways to attend Peacock, where we have a really big buffet of different course options. And we have some new ones that are coming up too, which I'm excited to share with you. So in grade 10, you will have a minimum of 3 elective classes. These are courses that you choose to take. And they can come from a variety of different topic areas. So I want to share with you a bit about that right now. So the first thing is in grade 10, the options you'd have for fine arts are band, which is obvious what band is. All of you were in band probably in grade 6, and you may be still in band at this point. Choral, we often have 2 choral classes. We have a choir class that's actually in the schedule, and we often have a class that's at lunchtime as well. Now, I want to make that clear for a second. So noon choir is at lunchtime. So, and it's also a credit class. So you could actually take a class, you know, a couple of times a week throughout the year and get an extra credit in grade 10. And you could do that in grade 11 and 12 as well. We have dance, which is individual dance and small group dance with Mrs. Temple. Drama, many of you would have taken drama in grade 9. That's an elective in grade 10, 11, and 12 as well. Perhaps you're very into music and you'd like to hone in on the jazz area. So we offer a jazz band. Jazz band is a class that goes after school a couple of days a week, similar to noon choir. And so you could actually end up with another extra credit if you were to take a jazz band class and be a part of that with Mr. Church. Visual art is with Mr. Redstone, and many of you took art in grade 9, and you may continue to do that as well in grade 10, 11, and 12. And then another credit we have in fine arts is vocal jazz. So that is choir, but it's more of a performance choir. So there's a little bit of movement and dance, and it's a small group, and it also happens after school. So it's another unique credit that you can take on top of your regular schedule. In grade 10, you must take 10 classes, so you'll have a full schedule. And so when we're picking these classes, remember that the total number you'll have will be 10. But some of you may have picked up, if you were to take vocal jazz, you could actually make that an 11th credit, because vocal jazz doesn't happen during the school day. It happens on top of that. So if you're interested in that kind of art or those fine arts, be sure to select that as an option. Of course, we have some really cool PAA classes. So we have auto body with Mr. Bludoff in the shop. Some of you have taken that class before. They work on cars. They learn how to fix dents, rust, weld, repair. Some students even later in high school bring their own vehicle in and work on it. It's quite a popular class area in auto body. CAD is computer aided design. So that's using the AutoCAD software to design things in 3D on the computer and to learn to sketch and design them. And later in high school in grade 11 and 12, they work with a program called Inventor, which allows 3D modeling. So if you're very much into technology and design, maybe you're interested in architecture and design, that would be a class for you to consider. Clothing and fashion is clothing and fashion. So we deal with fashion design. We deal with, there's a lot of sewing, obviously, that happens in there. Students normally work on personal projects, and that's with Mrs. Price. Communication media is sort of like video production. So the focus there is on learning to take and create video, learning to edit it, learning to stylize it, to write for video, and to how to share it. They also focus on a little bit about media, the study of media and how information is shared. So that's a computer-based class. It's a little bit of a mix of photography as well in there. That's what communication media is. Construction is like woods in grade 9, and it just extends from there. So students begin working on larger projects. It might be cabinetry, like working on building something like a piece of furniture. Sometimes students will even build, I've seen students in later grades build ice fishing shacks or build sheds or build small wood projects. So lots of flexibility there. And again, that's a woods-based class. I will mention that all of these electives, there are descriptions of how all of these classes work on our website, which will show you at the end of the PowerPoint as well. So if you're not quite sure what these were, there's a place I'll show you to go to be able to look it up again. Electronics, grade 10 level deals with two things: basic electronics, so that's like working with electrical components. So students will learn to like take things apart and to create different mechanical things out of electronics. So students are making a light board or a sound board, or they're learning to solder and put circuits together. Students also do a little bit of home electronics work in there. So that's like things like house wiring and working sometimes a little bit with robotics. So if you're really into the electronics thing, or electrical, you're curious about that, that's a good class to take. Mr. Robinson and Mr. Schaefer have taught that class normally. And so both of those teachers, if they teach you now, would be able to give you a bit of an overview more about the class. Foods is a cooking class. Yeah, it's cooking. I don't know what else to say. You'll learn lots. You'll eat lots as well. Mechanics deals with automotive mechanics. So you'll learn to work on a vehicle, how to change tires, how to be safe around a vehicle. And then they start, I think in grade 10, you work on small engines. So you take a small engine apart and then put it back together and get it running. And so they learn those sort of topics. And the last PAA there is welding. So welding is basically like construction, but with metal. So you're going to learn the different types of welding that you can do, and then you'll be able to construct a personal project. I do want to tell you all that when you take electives, that when you take them, don't take them necessarily as if you're going to do it as a career. Because you take auto body or you take jazz band or you take robotics, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a professional welder or a performer. You should take things that enjoy you or that you enjoy, or things that interest you or that challenge you. So high school is an incredible opportunity for you to try some new things, to learn some new skills. And so you've got a lot of different electives to take in grade 10. We have some other electives, which are not, they're in the other category. So we have guitar. So that's you literally one-on-one learning to play guitar. We have students that go into that class that have never taken guitar in their life. They don't even know how to hold a guitar. That's completely fine. You don't have to be experienced at guitar to take guitar class. We'll teach you wherever you're at that class. Musical theater is a unique class. So musical theater is actually a grade 10, 11, and 12 class. And those students are students that are hoping to be part of the musical. So the musical is done out of that class with a mix of in-class and out-of-class time. So if you're interested in being a part of the musical, performing or being a part of the sets or being a part of the sound or anything, that would be definitely a class to consider taking. We also offer robotics and electronics. So this deals especially with just robotics. So designing and building a small robot to complete challenges is what that class is all about. Some students compete in the Robot Rumble Challenge, which is a sumo bot wrestling competition that usually happens each March. We would expect that to be back next year. So something to look forward to. And a new class in grade 10 is yoga. So this is an open elective. It's called Yoga 10. And it deals with the study and the fitness and the use of yoga. And a lot of it is doing yoga, learning the different poses and the different positions, and would be a really could be a very interesting class for some of you to consider. We're offering it this year to our current grade 10s, and we have a full class of that. The other thing I want to tell you about all of these different elective options is that you must take at least 2 of these or practical applied arts or fine arts courses in grade 10, 11, and 12 in order to graduate. So it's really important in grade 10, we suggest that you take those 3 extra picks that you have other than your core classes to choose some electives that you'll enjoy or you'll learn something new. Also, you don't have to be in a rush to take all of these classes. In grade 11, you don't have to take the grade 11 electives. So let's say next year you're very much into fine arts, but you really want to take foods. And so let's say you filled up your electives with the fine arts and you couldn't get foods in grade 10. And then you're sad because in grade 11 you think, oh, I can't take foods anymore. That's not true. In grade 11, you can go back and you can take the grade 10 electives. It's completely fine. In grade 11, you will also have a lot more freedom in your schedule to choose more electives and more courses. So don't worry if you can't fit in an elective you really hope to get next year. It's totally fine. In grade 11 and even in grade 12, you have time to come back and to be able to take some of those extra electives and classes that maybe don't fit in your schedule in grade 10. Okay? So in grade 10, when you take your 7 core classes, you will have 3 additional picks, and we suggest strongly that you'll pick from some of these electives. I think so that's how we look at our electives. So I'm going to take you in a different area right now. So just bear with me here while I try and work with my screen share. I want to share with you something else. Okay, so Mr. Young, would you give me the thumbs up? Do you see a white screen with a little zoom on it? Does it say zoom? Let me tell me if you see Peacock Collegiate website up there now. That's a fail. That's a thumbs down.
No, I see the grade 10 electives slide.
Okay, thank you. Give me 1 second here and we'll just make sure I'm sharing the right screen with you all. Do you see the Peacock website now?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So this is an important spot that you'll want to spend some time. So you can do this from home, students, and I'll email the link to your parents. But under the students tab on our website, we have an area called course registration. Course registration. So I'm going to click on there and I will show you. Maybe that's easier to read now. So students, course registration, and we get here. So this is information about grade 10 to 12. There's a link here to the document that you have in your hand. There's also a link here to a big document that goes through each and every elective class with a paragraph kind of describing more about it than what I did for you today as well. And we also have, this is where you'll find a link to this presentation that we're doing today. It'll be right here and that'll take you right to our YouTube channel. There is a video link here on some new electives that are coming in grade 11 and 12. They will be available to students in grade 11 and 12. And there's one that's missing that some of you may have heard on the news recently, and that is that we're starting a class called Aviation Studies. It's a grade 11 and 12, but I know it may be of interest to some of you in grade 10. That class is going to learn about piloting, about aircraft flight, the principles of flight, about designing aircraft. There'll be some construction of aircraft, of learning to use flight simulators. And that class is actually going to build a real flying airplane over the next 2.5 years. It's a World War I biplane. And that is something that's going to happen because we were given a special funding grant. And so we're very excited about that. So if you're very interested in aviation or in problem solving and design and construction, that will be something that you will start to think about as you get into grade 10, into grade 11, and in grade 12. So that's not in this video link that we'll see here. Once we get finished this presentation, teachers, I will ask that you share with the students this elective video. Again, website, students, course registration, and here. I think it's important that as grade 10s, although you may not take these classes yet, that you have an idea of what the classes are available to you a little bit later in high school. Okay, so let's go back to, we'll go back to our PowerPoint, and we'll talk a little bit further. So, as I mentioned earlier, you need 24 credits to graduate high school. You need a specific 24 credits to do that. So there are some core classes, and then of course you'll have electives. And it is your job as a student and with your family to make sure you're taking the right credits. We are always here to help in making those decisions and to help you track that. A cool thing now is in My School Sask, there's actually a graduation summary tab, which will look after this for you. So as we get into grade 10, you'll get some more experience with how to use that. There's lots and lots of electives for you to be able to take. This is a form that's in that package that you'll get. And this is also a print copy of the tracking form. And it'll tell you what classes are the core must you take in each of the grade levels. We've already talked about that. The 2 English, the 2 math, the science, the social or native studies, the wellness, and then you have different electives that you'll be able to take. Okay. And this is another resource that's in the package for your families that talks about life after high school. But again, I don't want you to get stressed about that topic right now. You're just starting the credit system in grade 10, and you have 3 years to be able to get the right credits and to make sure that you're making the right decisions for when it comes time to graduate. Teachers, if there's been, are there any questions that have come from your class that you think are important that I review with you at this time? If there is anything, if you please toss it into the chat window. So just while we're waiting on that, so the process for all of you, name, grade, we've already done. We've circled our core classes. You will circle the electives that you wish to teach. And it says right at the bottom here that this form is due back to your class rate that you're in right now in grade 10, your morning teacher, your grade 9 morning teacher by Thursday. If you had questions about classes, we ask you to start by going to the website. Then of course, ask your teacher, or you can come down and you can talk to Mrs. Lewis or myself or Mrs. Arnott. We're happy to help you through this. We really want to be sure that the giant package today gets home to your family. This is really helpful information for them. We will email them to let them know it's coming home, but be sure that that does get home. Some students might wonder, hey, can I take more of the core electives? I see the question about taking native studies and social studies. Yes, that's a great question. You could take both of the cores. You could take social and native studies, absolutely. And it would count as 2 credits. The only thing is it wouldn't count as a practical and applied or a fine arts credit, but it would count as a credit. So if you're really into the humanities, the social, the history, the native studies, those topics, you totally can take both of them. And some students have before. Just like some students may take a lot of sciences or a lot of fine arts, it's completely fine. So why is there an L beside the word yoga on the class? Good question. So if you see a class that has an L, what it means is it's a locally developed class. So it's kind of a special little class that we have permission to be able to provide at Peacock. So there's a few. In grade 11, there's a couple in grade 11 and in grade 12, but grade 10 level yoga is the only unique class like that. So L means it's locally determined. It's kind of a special class. Okay, so just going back. So these are due back on Thursday to your morning teacher. Staff, if you could just hold on to them until Thursday. And if you need additional copies or anything, be sure to do that. Also a reminder to staff that I would ask that you share that electives video for grade 11 and 12. Just go to our website, students course registration, and choose. It's a 7-minute video from YouTube. But I think it does a great job at sharing some of the cool things that you can take later in high school and you can be excited about, and might help you meet some of the staff as well. There's some pretty unique things we offer in our building as well. There was another question in there about the difference between social studies and native studies. Native studies deals, it's focused very much on First Nations history, culture, impact, influence. It's very focused in that way. Whereas social studies is a bigger, broader course that deals very much with like things like government. It deals less with a specific culture. It deals with, Mr. Young, I need you to fill me in here.
Worldview. Just go with worldview, stories, a whole bunch of stuff.
Thank you very much, Mr. Young. Yeah, with worldviews, right. Thank you. Okay, so show the video, hand the forms back, folks, by Thursday. If you have questions, talk to your teachers or, of course, the office or Mrs. Lewis. We're here to help you. My one little piece of advice that I'll tell you is this. Don't be stressed about the classes you have to pick. You're not making decisions right now that are going to be impacting your life in high school or for forever. So don't be stressed about your course options. Select your core classes, take some electives, have some fun, challenge yourself, take some new interesting areas. You have 3 years to get all the right credits lined up for whatever your future holds. So there's no reason for it to be overwhelming. If you want to consult with someone, you know where we are, and we're happy to help and support you in any way we can. Okay. So I think we're going to end the meeting here. Thank you very much, teachers, for your help. And thank you very much for all your attention, students. We're excited to be planning for next year. Again, if you need anything, don't hesitate to let us know. Okay, so we'll sign off here, and I'll put a link to this video on our website. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.